Fala galera, eu aqui é mais um canal aí conferir aí sobre o que vai vir aí no Diablo no lançamento, né? Esse vídeo aqui eu pretendo fazer só depois do beta, mas eu vou estar fazendo aí antes para informar vocês o que vai ter no beta para vocês ficarem cientes aí sobre o que fazer no game, né? Lembrando, é claro, que o beta começa aí a partir do dia 12 e vai até o dia 14, viu gente? Então começa a partir de amanhã, às 14 horas no horário de Brasília. E no caso, agora vai ser somente até o nível 20. Antes irá até nível 25, mas isso agora vai ser até nível 20. Enfim, muitas coisas vai ser tiradas da live, que eles fizeram ontem aí. A cada 2 meses estão fazendo uma live aí, mostrando a novidade do game que tem, né? E nessa live aí foi tirada muitas coisas aí sobre como vai funcionar o game após o lançamento. Eu sei que o jogo em si, ele é caro, para vocês estarem aí adquirindo. Se vocês não forem jogar ele aí, basicamente lançamento, esperem uma promoção aí para estarem aí adquirindo um game. Bom, enfim, vou mostrar aqui para vocês algumas coisas aí que eu tirei da live. Vou estar comentando em cima também sobre o que eu achei, o que eles estão pretendendo fazer após o lançamento do game, né? Porque, como todo mundo sabe, todo jogo MMO que lança, vai muita gente jogar, mas poucas pessoas ficam aí dependendo do game de game que eles estão preparando aí para vocês estarem aí continuando a jogar o game, né? Enfim, vou mostrar aqui para vocês algumas coisas da live, então vou estar comentando em cima depois. Vamos lá então para a primeira coisa que vai ser praticamente aí das classes que vocês vão escolher no game.
In the eternal conflict between the high heavens and the burning hells, Diablo IV offers you more choice than ever before. Player choice is infused into everything, from how you look, the skills you use, the loot you equip, your path through the non-linear story, to how and when you choose to explore the shared open world.
We want players to play their own way and have their own choice of how they're going to build their character.
Between all of our different systems, you can really create a custom character in ways that was not available in previous Diablo titles. When you log into Diablo IV, the first thing you're gonna have to do is create your character. And those familiar with Diablo are gonna be very familiar with the screen with all the classes sitting around the campfire.
In Diablo IV, we got 5 classes. The Barbarian is your fantasy of a fierce warrior fighter.
The Barbarian is the weapon master of Diablo IV, being able to pick up any weapon, jump into the fray, and do really badass stuff with it.
They're very strong, they're very physical. They can take different weapons for different situations and use them to their maximum effect.
The Sorcerer is really your elemental mage. You have fire, ice, lightning. You can either focus on one or you can kind of be a jack-of-all-trades mage and use abilities from all 3.
They're a little more fragile than other classes, tend to be more ranged. The Rogue, unlike the Barbarian, they are a little bit more clever. They're very fast. They have the ability to imbue their weapons with different elemental energies, and they can modify them to do different things.
The Rogue has 2 different types of play styles. You have the ranged crossbow type gameplay, or you have the in-your-face daggers, poisons. You can lead the enemies into traps that have huge effects, more stealthy type gameplay. The Druid is really this shapeshifter.
When you cast certain skills, you change your form, what you look like and what you can do. They can turn into werebears or werewolves. If I cast a werewolf skill, I turn into a werewolf and I do werewolf things. If I cast like Pulverize, for example, which is a werebear skill, I turn into a werebear, I slam the ground really hard. Fits the fantasy, it's pretty cool. They can also become masters of nature magic with earth and storm magic. Last but not least, we got the Necromancer. They raise armies of the dead. They have different types of minions. You've got your skeletal warriors, your skeletal mages, and then your golem.
You have blood magic or bone magic that you can also take advantage of and tackle combat that way. If you've played a previous Diablo game and you enjoyed a certain play style, you can actually bring that into Diablo IV, or just try something completely new.
No matter which class you play, there's going to be multiple different avenues and fantasies that you can chase.
You can customize your character in ways you've never been able to before, with near-endless character creation and transmog options.
In previous Diablo games, you had to be attached to certain archetypes and look a certain way, and in Diablo IV, it's really up to you how you want your character to look.
You'll be able to choose from different facial structures from people all over the world. No matter where you are, you'll be able to say, hey, I can actually make someone that looks like me or looks like someone from my part of the world, which we're really proud of. You can pick a hairstyle for your character, and every class actually has a specific hairstyle that no other class can use. You can pick your eye color. We have some really fun ones. We have eye glowing, we have a bloodshot type eye, and then you can actually pick a marking, which is a tattoo or a design that covers your entire character, and there are dozens of those.
Transmog is the idea that you can take a piece of gear and change the appearance of it to look like a different piece of gear. As far as aesthetics, the sky's the limit. However you can think of making your character, you can make it that way.
Everybody's going to look completely different in Diablo IV.
One of our pillars for class design in Diablo IV is this idea that we want players to play the way that they want to. When you first start the game, we introduce you to the idea of the skill tree. As you level up, you get access to these different skills or passives or upgrades to make your character more powerful.
Each category has a few different skills that are all similar. They're either all defensive or all offensive, all ice or all fire. You can either focus on a very specific section or you can pick and choose.
The first skill point when you unlock a new skill is going to give you access to that skill. After that, you can put additional points into any skill that you have, and it's going to make it better, whether it increases the radius or adds some new effect or reduces the cooldown through some special way.
You can actually branch out in a very different direction, even if two characters actually started at the same place. The Paragon board is a late game system that once you've completely filled out your skill tree, you think you have a build, it will really let you delve into the theory crafting and the depth of Diablo IV's skill system.
And these boards, they can move through them spending their Paragon points, and they have nodes that give them very basic stats like intellect or dexterity. We also have more powerful nodes. We have rare nodes that have different effects where they can totally modify a skill to do something additional or different, or they can even make new connections between skills so that players can have new ways to play their character. Legendary nodes are equivalent to legendary powers, where they have more powerful effects that can change the builds and ways that characters play.
You can start planning this long journey of, okay, I want to hit this node, and then I want to hit this node. I'm going to apply this board, and I'm going to start from this side, and really just get into a super complex, very specific build for your character.
Legendary items are really rare and powerful items that you're going to find as you adventure through the world of Sanctuary. We have quite a few different categories of legendaries and how they do that. Some of them will actually change your skill or enhance it in some way.
Frozen Orb, for example, it might say, hey, every single time you use your Frozen Orb, it applies a new effect. And then I can actually take advantage of that new effect that it has. Even if the item itself is maybe not as good as the one you have, you can still extract that power from it, take advantage of it, and use it for your build.
One thing that our players can look forward to is that a lot of our classic, really rare, and most powerful items from previous titles are going to be returning as uniques in Diablo IV.
Unique items are very similar to legendaries, but they're unique, which means if that ability is actually on a chess piece, it's always going to be on that chess piece because it's more powerful than a regular legendary effect.
Crafting is a big part of Diablo IV. We have all kinds of different ways that you could upgrade and interact with NPCs to make your gear better. You can increase the item level or power of your gear, so you can actually get a piece of gear and just make it stronger. You can also add sockets to your gear so that you can put gems inside of it.
There are a lot of different ways that players will be able to customize their experience in Diablo IV. Every single player is going to have a different experience and a different build at the end of the day.
Because we have all of these different ways to make your own character, there's a lot more possibility compared to previous titles of how you want to play, how you want to build your character. We really are doubling down on this idea that you can look the way you want, you can play the way you want, you can really make your own fantasy in this game.
Hell welcomes all, and so does Diablo IV. In the coming weeks, we'll be sharing even more about how to play your way. Now, our launch on June 6th is getting closer. Closer still if you got early access. And we can't wait to see you in Sanctuary. Hail Lilith, Blessed Mother.
Bom, galera, como você viram aí, vai explicar mais bem basta sobre todas as classes que tem no game disponível. Vai ser, no caso, 5 classes de lançamento. Eles provavelmente vai lançar aí uma classe com DLC mais pra frente aí. Mas a primeira das classes que vai ser aí vai ser o Rogue. Rogue vai ser o Código, né? Ou então a Dage mesmo. O Barbarian, que é basicamente o Berserker. O Sorcerer, o Mago. Necromancer, que é invocar os esqueletinhos lá para ajudar, né? E o Druida. Aí o Druida é meio que uma mistura do Barbarian com o Necromancer, basicamente aí. E um pouco de Sorcerer, porque ele pode usar os elementos aí que tem. E é uma classe aí basicamente eu acho bastante OP. Eu joguei com ela aí, fiz até um vídeo pra vocês verem. E vai ser um pouquinho OP aí pra beta anterior, né? Vamos ver como que vai estar pra essa. Mas o foco basicamente aí pra mim jogar essa beta vai ser aí o Source, o Barbária e o Rogue, que eu não joguei aí na outra beta aí. Joguei só com o Necromancer e o Ludo, né? Mas enfim, vai ser aí basicamente aí 5 classes de lançamento. Depois vai ser basicamente levar uma DLC com outras classes que tem. E também aí vai ser aí basicamente aí o prólogo, né, do ato 1. Na beta anterior não tinha como você fazer a quest aí do Druidan, porque eles bloqueiam nível 25, se eu não me engano. Vocês fazerem aí outra parte dela. E era basicamente no ato 2. Então fica a dica para vocês fazerem aí até quando der, né? Basicamente porque muitas coisas aí do endgame não vai ter como vocês fazerem aí na beta inicial, né? Outro ponto que eu quero destacar para vocês é sobre como que vai funcionar aí as temporadas que tem, né? A primeira temporada aí começa aí no meio de junho, que eles falaram aí, basicamente. E o que você está vendo aí na tela é sobre o que vai vir aí para a primeira temporada que tem. Sobre o sistema de classificação, não vai estar disponível na primeira temporada, na primeira e na segunda. Sobre o que eles falaram vai ser basicamente mais por fim aí do ano que vai ter esse negócio de classificação. E sobre o PVP do game também não foi falado nada a respeito aí somente aí do PVE do game em si, né? Vou deixar aí mais um trechinho para vocês verem como que vai funcionar o sistema de temporadas que tem, que ele explica basicamente como que funciona cada uma. No caso, para quem comprar o jogo aí antecipado, a versão Deluxe e na versão Ultimate, já ganha o passe da primeira temporada, viu gente? Então, quem for querer comprar o game antecipado, tem esse benefício aí de você ganhar o passe da temporada, lembrando, é claro que você começa a jogar o game a partir do dia 1º também, né? Mas enfim, vou deixar aí rolando pra vocês um pouco aí sobre o que eles comentaram sobre esse negócio de passe de batalha e algumas dúvidas aí bem relativas aí que eu tinha foi esclarecido aí nessa live que eles fizeram agora. Então, vou deixar aí rolando pra vocês de fundo um pouco da conversa que eles tiveram, como vai funcionar e tirar aí bastante dúvidas sobre muitas coisas aí, sobre, pelo menos que eu tinha do game, né? Foi esclarecido aí basicamente bastante coisa aí pro game quando lançar.
Infographic to show you in just a second, but let me talk to you about seasons as a general rule. You know, as we're thinking about Diablo IV and the launch product of the game, we are trying to make sure that we've got a really great experience that players are going to be able to enjoy for their first, character playthrough of the campaign and have an excellent experience. Seasonal content, our post-launch content, is going to be arriving shortly after the launch of the base game.
Mid to late July.
Mid to late July, actually. It's good. Yeah. We haven't talked about that yet, but absolutely, it is mid to late July. You've heard it from Russ Ferguson. So that's the goal. We want to make sure that you've got enough time to play through your first character and really enjoy the campaign at your own pace and kind of explore potentially different classes as you go. So when we're thinking about seasons in Diablo IV, we start off with thinking about a theme, the seasonal content of that season. So we're going to have 4 seasons a year, 1 per quarter, and each of these are going to have a really strong theme associated with them. And this theme is going to basically inform the things we want to do with all the content within the season, with things that might be appearing in the battle pass, things in the seasonal quest line, things associated with like the new gameplay mechanics we'd be adding as part of that season.
Right.
We really want to make sure these things feel like they're connected in one coherent experience for players when they log in and they play during the season.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as part of that season, then to carry that theme forward, you're going to want to obviously have some sort of context or narrative around the season. Yes.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So that leads us to the seasonal quest line. So one of the questions I see get asked either like online or occasionally we'll see in like various chat channels is just that like how are we thinking about story as a with regards to like the live service, and how are we extending the story of Diablo IV? And there's kind of like 2 approaches to the way that we're looking at things. With regards to seasons, we're not going to be using this as an opportunity to expand upon the campaign story of Diablo IV.
Right.
The campaign story of Diablo IV, featuring like Inarius and Lilith and the events of the Wanderer, those events are really going to be told over the course of our expansions, our post-launch expansions, that we're not talking specifically about today. But that's really where the high-level narrative of Diablo IV will continue to unfold. But that leaves our hand open to do really interesting things in seasons. So if a season is supposed to have like a theme with a gameplay mechanic and other things associated with it, it allows us to have like one really engaging seasonal quest line that manages to deliver on like a self-contained story that's going to guide the player through like, again, the mechanics and the themes of that season. So like these are still like really big events that are happening in the world of Sanctuary, where the player is going to be able to like step in the role of the Wanderer and like kind of go and help people and like and explore interesting mechanics.
Right. So you're not bound. The ideas around the season are not bound by the campaign. You're basically creating quest lines in the open world that can be completely different and completely. It's not constrained to. It has to be about the narrative and the story. It can be about anything that's sort of interesting you want to play into in the open world, right?
Absolutely. So if, for example, we had a season theme for the first season, which, again, we will not be discussing today, folks. We're going to save season 1 to talk about it a little bit later on.
Yeah, we plan on talking about season 1 after launch.
That's right. But let's say, for sake of argument, that the first season was, the theme was about zombies.
Which it is not.
No, this is a false premise, okay? But let's just say, for sake of argument, that it was about zombies as the theme. That means that like things that would be showing up in the battle pass might be related to some like zombie stuff. The season quest line might be about like the rising of zombies throughout Sanctuary. Like that, we try to make sure these things all feel connected. So the season quest line is going to introduce new characters, like great voice acting, memorable quests and experiences will guide the player through the season. And that's the way that we're looking at things.
And so then that also then, I feel like I'm doing your job actually. Am I doing your job? I apologize.
No, you're doing great.
Oh, thanks, Adam.
You're doing amazing.
Thank you for the daily affirmation. I'll
just
give
gonna
you $20
leave now.
later. Sorry, I'm just curious. I think like when you think about the theme, that obviously goes beyond story construct, but also goes into the mechanics, like how you think about gameplay. Yes.
Absolutely, and that brings us to the next major thing I want to discuss, which is fresh gameplay. This is what I would. This is the great. Yes. So fresh gameplay. So with every new season, obviously we'll be introducing new story content, which I already described. And then we want to introduce new mechanics and gameplay for players to engage with over the course of that season. So this comes down to things like just new power for players to earn or ways to experience the growth of their character. Things are going to modify and change the way they're going to want to approach building their character every season. This goes beyond meta changes or like balance and tuning and things like that. It really comes down to like just wholesale like new features and things that are going to be available for the duration of that season for players to experience. And then at the termination of the season, when the season is over, these sorts of features are going to be retired. To be considered for, again, in the future if we like them or not. But for now, we want to make sure that we're kind of maintaining a certain level of parity across the game, and we're not kind of creating layers of like cruft and distraction from the core Diablo experience, which we already feel is tuned very well. So yeah, we're really excited to talk about those a little bit more in the future, but you can expect like exciting new features and gameplay to engage with between new monsters and mechanics, things for players to craft or do, change their gear, or just change their skills. So we're really excited about that stuff in the future.
And then when you think about seasonal stuff, we talked about, when you look at, say, Diablo 3 has the chapters that you go through to get Hager's gift and those sorts of things. So there's a sense of progression through a season. And we've obviously talked about the Battle Pass and how the Battle Pass will be in our previous blog around this stuff as well. But it's good to clarify again. So when you think about not just like, okay, I have a seasonal narrative, I have a seasonal mechanic or gameplay hook now, but how do I think about progression within a season?
Sure. So, great question. So, when we're thinking about seasons, we want to make sure we are creating new opportunities for long-term progression. The first version of that we want to talk about really is the season journey, which does make a return from Diablo 3. So, inside the season journey, the player is going to have an opportunity to complete a number of different objectives that are tied to mechanics, story goals, or other things that are happening during the course of the season. I think we might actually have an image for the season journey we can maybe pull up as well that might help me explain some parts of this.
I think we hid the zombie stuff though, so there's no zombie.
There's no zombie stuff in this.
Yes. No zombies.
Yes. Please note the top secret labels for this because we realize there's no image we can show that doesn't start to give away some of the things we're doing in season 1. Too bad. You're gonna be able to talk more. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But here in the season journey, players are gonna be able to complete a number of these objectives, as I already called out. Objectives are separated into chapters. One of the big changes that we made as part of the season journey is we've ensured that now players don't need to actually complete every one of the objectives within a chapter in order to advance. They can choose to go back and still complete.
So if I go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty different than if you're a player of Diablo 3 and you're going through season journey. If you remember, like going through each chapter required you to finish every single little bit of it before you could progress to another chapter. So this one obviously a little different in how you kind of approach it because you don't have to do every single thing. You can actually complete it beforehand by doing most of the objectives and kind of choosing specifically.
Yeah, like if I'm not a PvP player, I don't have to do the PvP objective to progress through the journey, right?
That's correct. If we have an objective that would send you to like the Fields of Hatred, you wouldn't have to go there to complete that one. You could do the other objectives associated with the season instead.
Got it.
So when you're going through and you're kind of completing the season journey, you're going to earn rewards for completing the objectives, and you'll also earn some big rewards at the end of each chapter, where you're going to get like packs of like crafting materials and items, and you can also unlock actual legendary aspects that go into your Codex of Power.
Oh, nice. So not just earn through dungeons, you can earn through the journey.
A different set of aspects, in fact, will be available through the Codex of Power in this way. And some of the new legendary powers we add in every season will also be made available through this method. So you'll still be able to find them as item drops, of course, but you can start being able to experiment and play with them pretty early on through these drops. And then the last thing I think is worth talking about here is every time you complete one of these objectives, you're going to also be earning favor, which is a kind of an experience system that is used by the Battle Pass. But with that other way, so you get like little drops from completing the objectives, and big drops of that also from completing the chapters. But when it comes to long-term progression in the Battle Pass, like, Kate, would you mind maybe walking us through some of how the Battle Pass works?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there's been a lot of questions about the Battle Pass, so let's talk through it today. So this is the Seasons tab, and this is going to be, the hub for all things seasons. Under that top secret label, you can see the season journey, and then at the bottom here, you can see the actual Battle Pass. And what you're seeing is a mix of the free tiers and the premium tiers of the Battle Pass. The way that you progress the Battle Pass is, like Joe mentioned, by earning favor. And there's two sources of it. You get it from the season journey, like Joe mentioned, but you also get it from leveling up and playing any seasonal character. So there's 3 levels of the Battle Pass. There's the free track, which, like the name implies, you don't have to pay for. Everybody has access to that. The premium track, which is roughly $10 US, depending on where you are in the world. And then there's the accelerated track, which is just like the premium track, but it has includes 20 tier skips. It's folks who might have gotten a late start and a special cosmetic, and that one is roughly $25 USD, depending on where you are in the world. But let's talk a little bit more about the free and premium tracks. So the free track has 27 total tiers, and what you're primarily getting from the free track are what's called smoldering ashes. And the smoldering ashes are going to be like the currency that you use to unlock seasonal blessings. So the seasonal blessings are different buffs you can get that will help accelerate your progress through the season. So you can see, for example, here, plus 3% to XP earned. That's going to help players, level up again, level up multiple characters. And all of these are really just meant to help players through that seasonal progression, through that seasonal journey. It's important to note, though, that there is a secondary level requirement on every free tier of the Battle Pass that contains smoldering ashes. So for example, if you were level 1 and you bought a bunch of tier skips and hadn't played yet, you wouldn't be able to access the smoldering ashes and spend them until you had actually leveled up a character and met those level requirements. And this is to prevent folks from buying a ton of tier skips and keep everybody on a level playing ground. So I
had a question about that, actually. So there are no smoldering ashes available in the premium track of the Battle Pass, right?
That is absolutely correct. It is all the things that affect gameplay are only in the free track.
Okay.
And so that basically, we've said it's always cosmetic based. So there's you can't pay for power in Diablo IV because, as you saw, the stuff, the season blessings are on the free track, and they have a level requirement, so you actually have to play to get to a certain point. So it keeps everybody in a level playing field.
Right. You may not pay for power in Diablo IV. So yeah, let's talk about next the premium track. So like I mentioned, $10 USD, depending on where you are in the world, and this contains 63 total reward tiers. So you add that to the 27 from the free track, you get the 90 total tiers in the Battle Pass. Yes. there is a ton of value in that premium track. So you get 2 full armor sets for every class. And they're really themed to the season. They're meant to be like a celebration of that season's theme. And there's other stuff in there. There's the seasonal mount. There's the seasonal mount armor, which you can see here on this screen. And then there's just like a bunch of fun other little cosmetics like role-playing clothing. For example, we have like a big, pair of white bloomers in there. So there's lots of fun stuff to find in the Battle Pass.
I know, that's what I wear when I role play.
I think that's actually a really fun idea, though. So like, it's not necessarily like big armor or things, but just more other stuff. So if you want to like play a particular role, like there's options for some of that stuff that you'll find.
And you can mix and match all of it. So you can create all kinds of ways to express yourself.
What's nice is that you just said there's 90 tiers, and a season is 3 months. Right, so you have quite a lot of time. You have essentially 120 days to do 90 tiers, which seems doable.
Yeah, we want it to be achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, great.
I want to call it one thing also, and then we were looking at that image before. There's that top secret label on the left.
Yeah.
Like that is explicitly a link that will bring you to some part of the season journey as well. The only reason it says top secret there is because it's got language in there that I do not want to make sure that anyone is able to read to give away what's happening in season 1.
Exactly.
Otherwise, people know about the zombies.
Otherwise, people know about. It's not a zombie season, Ron.
You use the example.
Pessoal, como vocês viram aí, o sistema aí de progressão de temporada funciona basicamente 90 dias a cada temporada que vem. Lembrando, é claro que, como eles são citados aí, falado no vídeo, né, não vai ter microtransação para itens que não seja cosmético, supor. Não vai citar se a pessoa comprar aí as cinzas, como eles estão chamando, né, o item de progressão, você precisa estar aí upado os itens em si, né, para estar tendo aí acesso a esses itens. Mesmo que você comprem aí esse item pelo passe, que vai ter gente que vai comprar, né? Não tem como. Esse item vai ser limitado aí dependendo do nível que você está aí no passe. Sendo assim, não vai ter aí itens aí microtransação, fora as cinzas que eles estão citando, né? Mas as cinzas você vai ter que ter aí nível específico para estar usando aí esses itens que tem. E sobre coisas dos altares, como vocês viram aí, como vocês jogaram aí a beta, né? Vai ter alguns altar que dá um buff específico a você. Lembrando, é claro que cada temporada dos altares aí vai ser resetado, então o buff que vocês ganham aí basicamente no game, né? Você vai ter que estar resetando ele basicamente toda a temporada que vem. Cada temporada dura aí basicamente aí 90 dias, 1 mês e meio basicamente. E lembrando, é claro que, como é citado no vídeo, né, na live que eles fizeram, não vai ter item pay to win, a não ser você compre aí as armaduras que tem no shopping. E essa armadura basicamente é só skin, você consegue aí vários outros aí no passe normal ou no passe premium, quem quiser, né, tá comprando. Então basicamente aí tudo que ele tem que explicar sobre como vai funcionar o negócio de temporada, eles explicaram aí, como vocês viram aí no vídeo. E lembrando, é claro, que para quem comprar o jogo aí antecipado, né, só vale para a versão Deluxe e a versão aí Ultimate. A versão normal não tem o acesso antecipado. E é claro que no caso sai mais barato, né? Como falei para vocês no começo do vídeo, quem quiser jogar o game no lançamento, vale a pena. Mas quem quiser esperar aí um tempo para ver como vai ficar, esperem, logo logo vai ter uma promoção também. Lembrando, é claro, que o jogo não está sendo barato, né? Então fica a critério de vocês aí, tá pegando um game ou não. Como falei, testem a beta para ver se vocês gostam aí realmente do game. Sei que muita gente aí nunca jogou nenhum Diablo, então está começando por esse. E tipo, o que vocês forem testar na beta é que vai ser o game final, basicamente. A única coisa que vai mudar é acessar a progressão de vocês e os itens que tem aí, dependendo de cada temporada vai ter as quests diferentes, né? Como foi citado na live. Vamos ver se vai cumprir o que eles estão prometendo aí para o endgame, né? Mas enfim, outras novidades aí eu trago aí depois do beta, como começa amanhã, então vou testar aí o beta, trago aí o que eu achei, basicamente o beta final, né? Sobre as classes que tem. As 3 classes eu vou tentar fazer aí. Lembrando que só vai upar até nível 20, posso pegar uma recompensa aí durante o game. É só somente após vocês pegarem o nível 20, matem a Shiva lá. O evento que tem, ele vai dar todo um respawn aí, pois a cada 3 horas em si. É bem mais fácil vocês estarem matando. Mas esse bônus aí só vai valer aí pro game final, viu, gente? Mas enfim, eu creio que isso foi bastante dúvida aí pra quem tá aí, se vai ou não comprar o game. Eu pretendo fazer algumas builds aí no lançamento em si, né, do game. Outras dicas também eu estou aí passando aí para vocês após o beta. Durante o beta, eu vou tentar testar as 3 classes, espero aí que eu consiga, né? Vendo servidores que eles vão estar aí testando. Mas enfim, eu vou ficando por aqui. O link da entrevista em si completo vai estar lá na descrição do vídeo para vocês tenham gostado desse vídeo aqui. Vou ficando por aqui e falou!